Dallas total was what?
305 because I did 170 and then 135
Okay, so
for this match.
for meet 1 to meet 2, you were like, I want to take a 20. I want to get a
I
15,
was
20 kilo
told
increase.
to, right? I was
Okay.
told to not, and I was like, what, I think I can hit it because, fuck, like I'd been dabbling and almost hitting 140 with a snatch pretty easily. Now the clean and jerk, no, I don't know where the fuck my coach at the time thought about. Yeah, 180. That sounds like a great idea because 170 fucking was hard as shit. Let's just throw on another 10 kilograms.
Yeah, man, 180 with the singlet it's rough. It's rough. If you were
Mm-hmm.
in your normal training clothes, if you could wear your squat diaper, you probably would have had it.
Oh, easily.
Probably would have had it. Okay, so everybody, welcome. This is the weekly Strength Club Q&A where we talk about programming. As you can see, it's the Mark Ripito weekly fan club meeting for big guys. Today we're talking about 531 and maybe some other numbers. I'm here with Chase Lindley, who is the head coach of the women's class Saturday morning in Oklahoma City. Is that correct?
No, I think Phoebe's probably the head coach for that.
Okay.
But I'm there for help and supporting.
Okay,
Right, so
gotcha.
I'm that shoulder that people lean on to cry on, all that
Okay.
stuff.
How can I send in a form check? Pian. Is that like Peter Ian or is your name Pian? Yeah, so here we go, actually. Good question, everybody. This is Chase's socials. This is my website if you would like to inquire. And then if you want to get videos on the show, send them into support@strength.club. We got 4 videos in that we have to get through today. So I think one of them is a repeat from someone else. Oh, we got Lord Sidious is back. How's it going, boys? I scheduled this. I put this on YouTube or scheduled it, I think 15 minutes before the stream started. Normally I do it like the day before so people can see
Yeah.
it. Totally dropped the ball on this one, Chase.
Oh, fuck it.
Yeah.
Our 5 people that watch this is going to be very disappointed.
And Pian, yeah. All 4 of them are my mother. One of them is Phoebe. We did a form check on you on the Reddit a month ago. Yeah, unless if you link the video in here, maybe I can remember which one that it is. But if you send it to support@strength.club, we'll be able to get it on the next show because that's Mick's email. Or if you could link a new form check from the Reddit, that would work too. Who's this? We got Everclear ACG. Good vibes. Thanks, dude. Nice to see you. Okay, yeah. So we're talking 531 today. Who is this 531? Have you ever met Jim Wendler, Chase?
No, man. So he came to the seminar, or no, it was the coaches conference back in like 2012 or like a while ago. There's a video on YouTube of him kind of speaking at the coaches association. So I wasn't deemed worthy at that time to go and meet the guy, and I probably wasn't even in the gym at that time. But from what everyone says, this guy is massive. He's a very impressive looking guy, and he is a big, strong motherfucker.
Yeah, big strong motherfucker has produced many strong motherfuckers.
Yep.
Yeah, so let's see if I can actually find the video on the YouTube starting strength.
Because like the dude, Jim Wendler is like 6'3", 6'4", or some shit like that.
I
And
have
then
no
I
idea
think
how tall
I
he
don't know.
is.
I want to say he was that, and then at the time, whenever he was giving the speech, he was like 275.
Okay, here we go. So we got. So if you look up deadlift volume with Mark Ripito, you'll find a video from Starting Strength 9 years ago. It's 5 minutes. 10 years ago, Mark Ripito interviews Jim Wendler. There's a part 1. There's a lot of parts of that. That's a decade old. And then yeah, so if you just look up Jim Wendler, Mark Ripito, you'll find them. You guys should know who those 2 people are. Jim Wendler's looking pretty massive. Rip's also looking pretty massive though in these shots here. Hold on, I'm gonna try to find you a shot with both of them in here, Chase, so you can see them. All right, Chase, hold on.
It's all right.
Can you see this?
Yeah.
So in this photo, actually, Jim Wendler's looking like a beta cuck. Mark Ripito is looking. He's
look at Rip. Rip has his
he's in
hair.
his larger posture.
Yeah.
He has his hair
is up higher.
His chair is higher.
He's a Sigma dude. He's fucking.
Yeah, this is Mark Ripito in the middle of the grind set. This is what's happening. Oh, yeah. And then the cucked Wendler
Your boy is just
down
demasculated.
in his chair. But yeah, so these interviews are good. Chase, do you remember the last time you went through these?
The last time I think I was watching Kurt Kowalski's interview with Rip, or had another guy. I forgot his name, but those old ones are pretty cool, man. I like those.
Yeah. Yeah. So all of these interviews with this kind of like high school yearbook background, um, all of them that you can find on the starting strength page are very valuable. You'll be
Hmm.
able to take a lot of things out of all of these. So if you guys haven't checked out these interview series, you should definitely do that. Okay, so back to now that we've seen that man be mogged by Mark Rippetoe brutally, but it's Jim Wendler. It's he's a famous powerlifting coach. 531 is, I would say, his preeminent intermediate program.
Hmm.
He doesn't. I don't think he kind of lists it or frames it as like beginners should immediately hop onto 531. I'm sure he has other things for that, or just kind of defaults to starting strength. But 531 functionally, it's like a 4-week tiny training block on a relatively set scheme that you repeat in loop, right? So in the starting strength NLP, you're going A workout, B workout, A workout, B workout. The loop is 2 workouts. That's the loop.
Hmm.
On 531, the loop or cycle that you're running through is 4 weeks. So we'll show some examples of this, but just to give a rough layout of it now, um, you're doing 3x5s with relatively ascending intensity. All of these are ascending intensity, by the way. So the 3x5, 3x3, all these things. The intensity or weight on the bar proximity to 1 RM is going to be increasing across the sets. So whereas like a starting strength NLP, let's say the 3x5, it's 3 sets of 5 at 275. That's your squat. The next time it's 3x5 at 280. And this one, it would maybe go 235, 285, 325 for the 3x5, something like that. And that holds for the rest of it. So the volume seems to decrease. For week 1, it's 3x5. Week 2, 3x3. Week 3, you're doing a set of 5, then a set of 3, then a set of 1. And then you kind of take a deload, but it's not a huge deload on the 4th week, and then you
Hmm.
repeat through that. Okay. Chase, in your normal, not intentional, or like you're not selling a template, so you don't have it as formalized as this. Weight vests and use barbells for himself anymore. That's interesting. I'm gonna go through this Chase question and then talking about that. So Chase, how long does like a normal training block or cycle last for both yourself and like a normal client in the intermediate realm?
For me personally, right now I'd say about 2 weeks or so, maybe sometimes three. Um, it depends. Like right now, currently, like if I'm not going into meat prep, yeah, it's about 2 weeks, and if I'm going into meat prep, it's going to be about a 4 week, gradually increasing intensity style program. But like for a guy who's just an intermediate, weekly we're trying to set PRs because that's how we kind of distinguish what an intermediate is someone who can recover from that stress within maybe 24 or more than 24, more like 72 hours, and then he's good to go for that next workout, which is about weekly at that point. um, the thing about like if we were to go from like straight from the novice phase into like the 531 is that you're waiting to maybe hit a PR way longer than what you probably should be. Maybe like another 3 weeks to
Mm-hmm.
where you're hopefully hitting that on that 531 day. You're hitting a 1 rep max that's heavier than what you did last time, but I think you can accomplish with something a little bit more streamlined and way faster by just doing it weekly or hitting more weight on the bar.
Yeah, it is an odd structure, and I think for a lot of us who are kind of if you are saturated with modern programming, this looks very different.
Hmm.
Um, so here's the interesting thing. So Chase, very advanced lifter. Cool dude is cool. Nice. Did Cool
Change
Dude
the name.
69 get crystal knocked? What happened to Cool Dude 69? Strength gentleman. Oh yeah. What about this comment, Chase? Any thoughts on this comment, Chase?
That's interesting. Like what screams out to me is like, I mean, I could probably see how Windler's kind of thinking like that because Windler may just be beat up and, barbells just could be, he's fucking himself up on it to where, maybe he's putting a weight on him with vests and stuff like that to make him feel a little bit more not beat up and a little bit more recovered. But I don't see a use for that with my clients in the gym, or even really the vast majority of people,
Hmm.
um, unless like we had some weird instance where they couldn't hang on to a bar or something like that. Maybe a weighted vest, but how much, how many weighted vests do you need? Or granted, like how many small plates do you need just to make it a little
Yeah,
bit more heavier? That's the kind of thing that
yeah,
I am interested in.
yeah. I think holding on to muscle mass is a lot easier than getting it. And then
Hmm.
also, everybody's on TRT now. Everybody's testosterone is being rapidly replaced by added testosterone. So it's like holding on to muscle. It's not a big issue. You just kind of need to get some sort of light stimulus in. I would imagine for someone who's kind of been, I don't know. Well, I'll be excited to see Chase's opinion 50 years from now when he's been like,
Yeah, I may be like fucking all the rage about weighted vest
he's
whenever I'm
like,
all beat
man,
to hell.
I've been squatting 3 times a week for the past 60 years. And then he's just fed up with it and then
Yeah,
goes
it
to
could.
Pilates.
Very
Yeah, goes
could.
to Pilates or something. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of personality
Well, it's
about
kind of
that.
like have you ever seen, I don't know if you follow like Chuck Vogelpol, like the extremely talented lifter that was out of West
Hmm.
Side. He has like the weird apparatus that looks like
The
it
the
look
chest penis.
yeah, it looks like that. He uses that a shit ton, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, how long did the Chuck spin with a barbell, and then like how
Hmm.
much muscle did he have? Like this dude's very talented, very fucking strong. I think yeah, it's just finding ways to where you're not beating yourself up, but at the same time you're kind of losing the focus of what is the difference between a barbell and what I'm using on my weird chest penis thing.
Yeah. So when I've tried to look up chest plate loader harness, it's not working. Let's look up West Side strength. I got to find the plate penis for you guys. Um, Maybe we'll get it. I'm gonna keep looking. But
Well,
essentially,
just
it looks like a drum line, like someone's carrying a
yep,
tuba. It basically looks like one of those metal harnesses, but there's a loading pin that comes right out of the middle. So it's like you're like a sternum narwhal. It's like
yeah,
right there, and then you put plates at different distances out. And I
hmm,
suppose it's a way to like chest hip extension without a ton of compressive loading because it's just putting moment super far out in front of you.
yeah.
So like I mean, I guess if your body is decimated from lifting thousands of pounds, maybe that's a good idea. But the chest penis is pretty cool. If someone figures out what that's called, please let me know.
I don't know.
Um,
I thought it was like the Vogelpol fucking harness or some shit like that.
I have no idea
I
what they
don't know
could
either.
possibly name that. I don't wouldn't. Well, I don't know if anyone wants it named after them specifically as well.
Oh, I bet Chuck does. I mean, fuck.
The Chuck's chest penis.
Yes.
Yeah, sure what it is. Um, Okay, yeah. So back to 531. We'll kind of explain more about what it is, what the primary variations are, and then what are kind of the cons to it, and what are the pros, and how you can kind of change it to make it work a little bit. Um, right. So the premises for 531, the things that it kind of relies on, it's that it's a fundamentally a strength program. It doesn't list itself as a bodybuilding program or a conditioning program. Um, Across your 4 week cycle, it is your volume is decreasing, load is increasing, right? So average volume is going down, sets and reps across the week, average load is going up across the week. Um, a Zercher harness, cool dude, 69.
Hmm.
Here we go. All right, Zercher harness.
Is that the
I don't
chest?
think this is the one, man. This I've seen this one. The one that that we're talking about, cool dude. It
That's where he has
has
like the little lip and you can put the bar in it. Is that the one that cool dude's talking about?
yeah. Hold on, I'll show you.
Yeah, that's not it.
There's a few variations. Yeah, I think we gotta figure out which one. Um, yeah, so some of the Zercher ones are basically like it just can pin the bar there.
Yeah.
Can you see it? Can you see that,
Yeah.
Chase? So the bar is down there. This totally makes sense. I think the one that Chase and I are talking about, it has just like a peg that just shoots straight out in the front. Look at this man.
Yep.
Oh, look at this beautiful savage of a man here. Louis also been destroyed. R.I.P. Louis. This is pretty cool, by the way. No arms deadlift. So Zercher harness. There's the peg that comes down. She's pulling 455,
Mm.
475. You're referring to the older style. Oh wait, here we go. Here we go. This is what we're talking
Yeah,
about,
that's it.
everybody. Let's open this image in a new tab. Bam. Cool dude coming in with the R&D here. Yeah, so this thing, this is a West Side creation. I'm sure Jim Wilner has used this at some point, but it's like a loading pin that kind of hangs off your crotch that basically forces the back to come up. These are
Hmm.
super cool. Why did we start talking about this, Chase?
Because of Lord Sidious's comment about like him using weighted vests and shit.
Oh, right, yeah. So this is the weighted vest comment. Yeah. Oh, here we go. L70. He said, I did that for about 6 months when I squatted about 245 for 5. It was only one work set a week in reality. The previous sets end up being warm ups because they're so light. This is the biggest problem with 531, like by country mile. Um, yeah. So thanks for bringing that up, L7D, because we're gonna talk about that now. Chase, do you want me to explain this or do you want to do this?
I can attend to. So like I really haven't looked at it too much of the 531. Like I've before going on to this, I did my quick little brief homework on T Nation with the 531. But like what I was telling Alex is just looking at the setup here is that I mean it didn't really make sense for like the first week and really like, the second one too because if we look at it like the intensity so low, the volume so low, this just looks like warm ups. Versus whenever you kind of get into like the week 2 and week 3 variation with like the 90% and then the heavy one single at 95%, like it actually looks like you're doing something there. But and let's say even like the week 3 that 5 reps at 85%, it's just really 1 week of you doing something versus 2 weeks, really even 3 if we include the deload week of you just warming up.
Yeah. So to pop out some things here. So think 65%, 70%. Yeah, cool dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
so cool dude said, I find percentages to be irrelevant as long as the weight can still go up weekly. Yeah, it's a totally a different portion of training. Like Chase was saying, like Chase is a very advanced lifter. I'm gonna make him big so we can see how advanced he is. Chase is so advanced, he's the whole screen now. He's so advanced that his microcycle is functionally 2 weeks. If it's
Mhm.
like a meat prep, it's around a 4 week microcycle.
Mhm.
Chase, by the way, whenever I made your head big, 2 people left, 2 viewers left as soon as I made your head big.
Good. I intimidate people like that.
Um, for most people, like someone on the SSNLP, their microcycle is functionally 2 workouts. You could argue it's 1 workout.
Mhm.
For someone like Chase was describing as a general intermediate, or what we like to call an intermediate, that's roughly a week where we kind of have to plan in these ebbs and flows, ups and downs of training. 531 is assuming that it's like, oh, it's an intermediate program. Okay, cool. But at the same time, you need to be so advanced that you need to be planning things on like a 4 week or
Mhm.
really kind of a 3.5 week dig. Like you have to be very strong for an AMRAP at 85% to fuck you up for a whole week, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so this plus symbol right here, everybody. So when it says like, see how this doesn't has a no plus, there's a plus here. When there's a plus, that means that you want to take out as many reps as you can responsibly. Don't fail the set, but push it pretty hard. So let's say on this set of 85%, you end up getting 7, and the next week you get 8, or the next cycle of 531 you get 8, and the next cycle of 531 you get 9. That's really cool, but you are also spending 4 weeks to get a 1 rep PR, which is a very long period of time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So L7D brings up a good point. These are percentages of 90%. So 531 has like a lot of literature around it. Like if you kind of looked at the associated baggage of 531 to kind of get your head around the whole culture, there's a lot. And one big thing is that like of what the percentages are taken out of. So these percentages aren't of your true 1 rep max. Oftentimes they're of like a rough 90%, so you don't kill yourself. But it's hard to here unless you're doing something like boring but big, which we'll get to next.
Well, like what I found interesting too is like on that T Nation thing, like what I was reading is like on like the philosophy of it or how it was actually made. It made this brief little context of like finding your 1 rep max. It's like, well, you will spend like 3 to 4 weeks trying to figuring that out on all the 4 lifts. It's like, well, you spending those 4 to 3 weeks, basically adding 5 pounds, 10 pounds, whatever it is that you're doing to find your 1 rep max, you're literally getting stronger during that time versus doing the program itself.
Yeah, that may be more effective training.
Yeah, exactly, which makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so now this already is a little bit contentious because we're looking at this and we're like, wow, this is incredibly low volume. Not only is it low volume, it's like it's functionally just like what it's who said it? It's more or less like one working set a week. Yeah, L7D said that.
Yeah.
Because this 75%, pardon me, if you're squatting 500 pounds, 75% is an appreciable amount of weight. You can still get some return out of that, but it won't be a tremendous amount of return. If you're squatting 245 like L7D was, 75% of that it's
A
really
fucking
not that stressful
warm up.
for him at all. It's
Yeah.
still a fucking warm up. So the percentages we're like, oh man, this feels like it's our volume. Now here is the next part, possibly the most damning part here. Chase, this is like a relatively representative sample of exercise selection. Okay, so this is an example week. So
Mm-hmm.
what you'll notice is you're doing one main lift a week. So your
Mm-hmm.
frequency of lifting exposure is one time a week. Okay, so you're deadlifting once a week, you're benching once a week, you're squatting once a week, pressing once a week, and then this
Mm-hmm.
assistance work. It depends on the variation. So Chase, what are some of the reasons that we really don't do a lift just once a week anymore?
So it's the stress recovery adaptation cycle, and what I mean by that is, so with like the deadlift and the squat, those are very stressful exercises because we got to think one, how much muscle mass are we incorporating, how much weight we can use. Both those two exercises, we can use a lot of muscle mass and we can load it up a lot. Now with the press and the bench, some people have a really good bench, some people don't, and then the vast majority of people suck at the press. So if I were to now diminish how much frequency I'm getting with those two exercises, and I'm already terrible at it, it doesn't make sense because now I'm not giving enough adequate stress to those in order to make progress.
Hmm.
Like this may look good for again someone who is very competent in all the lifts and someone who's very strong because that stress interval that they're getting during that one day, for example, on the deadlift, is sufficient enough to drive the next um,
Week,
series of yeah
yeah.
of recovery and adaptation, whatever a week, two, however long next.
Yeah, it's almost like a bro split, like a bodybuilding bro split. It's like I'm gonna
Yeah.
hit buys Tuesday, and I'm not touching buys again until next Tuesday because it's like you're trying to dig such a big hole. It is taking you 6 weeks to dig out of it or to jump
Hmm.
out of it. The especially when we look at some of the variations, we'll do that next. Some of them seem so broad and aggressive and like a shotgun approach to volume and training stimulus that you can understand why they would program only one time a week
Hmm.
because it's like we're going to lay on the stimulus so thick that it's going to take you a whole week to dig out of this. What we know now is that kind of more moderate exposures more frequently, they're better for a technical learning standpoint, like Chase mentioned, but also really just for like a general strength and hypertrophy. Like if you have to do 10 sets of leg work in a week, let's say if you're doing kind of like a body part or split, if you do that all in one session, by the time you get to set 6 or set 7, if you've been trying really hard, you can't use very much weight. You're
No.
you're burned the hell out by that time. um yeah, Lord Sidious, yeah, this is basically it. Yeah, we'll talk about this next slide. Yeah, so basically it turns into junk volume, like Sidious is mentioning, but it's like the average tension that the muscle is seeing by the time you're that deep in the workout, it's so low that it's very hard to drive maximal
Yeah.
strength progress. So, like if Chase did benching, let's say, if I remember correctly, Chase, your last bench was, let's say, triples in the 335, 340 area.
Yep.
Okay. So if he did 10 sets of benching work in a day, all of his chest work, tricep work, things like that, by the time he's in that last 3 or 4 set area, if he's doing close grip, pin bench, anything like that, his weight is probably going to have come down by maybe 100 pounds. Um,
Easily.
and it's and because that weight is so disparate, you may still be getting some hypertrophy effect, which 531 does rely on, as does everything. But it's much less useful for strength.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so we'll go to this next part here. Have you seen these? Do these names sound familiar to you, Chase?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Yeah, so this is the one that Sidious mentioned. Somehow he has returned. Yeah, so boring but big is a shit ton of junk volume. You do the normal 5-3-1 programming. So to be clear, you do this, what we had here before. So you do this, and then once you're done with that, you add 5 by 10.
Jesus.
Yes, it's a very holy 5 by 10. So now that you know that boring but big is, Chase, what are your thoughts on boring but big?
I mean, that's a bodybuilder program, man. Like it's helping the lack of volume there, but like I think that's just too much stress right there. But like again, you're doing it at such a low percentage to your 1 rep max, whether it be 50 or even 45%. That's just
Hmm.
it's time wasted in the gym, man. Like you could have accomplished this at a higher percentage with even a little bit less volume, maybe even like a 5 by 5, maybe a 6 by 5 if you actually wanted to get a little bit more outside like the starting strength range and add a little bit more volume in there. But the tens, that's just no one's cranking out big weights with 10 reps unless they're fucking juiced to the gills.
And it's like, even the guys who are doing crazy weights for tens, it's still
It's
really
still,
far off of
yep,
their 1 rep max, right?
has
So
to
like
be.
if you are, remember, goals, if the goal here, if we're treating this like a strength program, if you end up doing, a bunch of junk tens with 40-50% of your of your working weight or your 1 rep max or whatever you end up calculating it on, it's so far away from a load that will help make you stronger. It'll help you get in better conditioning. There's a small, certainly a hypertrophy effect, but it may actually be too much, maybe too little. It kind of depends. Yeah, boring but big is kind of a crazy. It seems like it would work for a time, and we'll kind of go into the negatives of it. But like, you could make this work, quote quote. You could
Mhm,
theoretically add weight to the bar with this, but it would probably just be so far off what normal programming would be in terms of rate of
mhm.
progress. Yeah. So triumvirate. This is the one that L7D said that he did. He gained many muscles from this. L7D, correct me if I'm wrong here, but triumvirate is you do your main lift. So you do the main lift according to this chart. And then afterwards, you pick 2 relevant accessories. So for example, it would be bench and then close grip and then pin bench or
Mm.
dumbbell incline, something like that. Does that sound more reasonable, Chase? Does that fix any of the problems that Boring
It
with Big
does, but
had?
what's the reps and sets? Is it still kind of following suit of like the main lift that you just did? Are you still doing like a 5-3-1 with it or
So
five?
this is more homebrew. There's a lot out there
Okay.
on Triumvirate. In L7D, please pop that out if you have it on hand. But if there's one specific prescription, but it doesn't change the frequency. It just says, add 2 accessories that are relevant to the main movement. Okay, because remember, we're only doing 1 lift a day,
Yeah.
right? So it would be like deadlifts, and then we would do, RDLs and rows, for
Yeah.
example.
Man, I mean, so far, like this seems like the most beneficial out of the ones that we covered, or really just out of the two. But what I still see is like, for example, if I wanted to do a press, I can stress the pin press a little bit more in weight to where maybe the next existence exercises, it's going to still vary in load and intensity and in volume to where I don't know about the training stimulus. You have to be a little bit smart about that. And then even for like the deadlift. So if I pulled, whatever I'm doing on the deadlift, my 2 accessories are going to either have to be really light or I'm going to have to take a little bit more weight off the main one if I were going to do a rack pull because I'm definitely not going to be pulling, let's say, a set of 500 for a set of 5 and then expect to do a rack pull at like 550 for a set of 5 or 2 or anything like that because I'm going to be gassed at that point. So
Okay,
that's the
so
thing
we
that,
we got some confirmation from L7D.
okay.
Yeah, so when we look back at this also presents kind of more problems. So you have to, your accessories on the 5-3-1 week, so on week 3, they're going to have to be different than your accessory choices on week 1, right? Because it's like
Okay.
85%, let's say, if you have more resources here, maybe you can get away with like a heavier RDL, but on the 3rd week when you just went like balls out for the heaviest set you can, yeah. So like even this prescription is like you can do whatever you want in the accessories, just make sure to do them. That's so iffy, because someone may try to do. He recommends, for example, shins dips.
Mm,
Yes, yeah, and I saw that with the body weight variation as well. L7. Yeah, so like the prescription here, it's let's say for example, if you have a bad day, on the 90% week, or let's say,
Yeah.
you know, for this, you have a bad day and then you end up only getting 3 reps, whereas like somehow normally you would get like 5 or 6. Then
Mm.
you have a big gap of stress, and are your accessories going to take advantage of that leftover budget, right? Or let's say that you had a really strong day on this 85% pull and you end up getting 8 reps instead of the planned 6, right? But your back is pumped to shit, but you're like, okay, I still have to do, I'm supposed to still do RDLs. I'm supposed to still do, you know, something
Yeah,
else.
man. I don't know. That's too much variation in all the stress that you're getting.
Yeah, so it's like because you have to be so reactive because you can't necessarily plan for that last set. It's hard. If you're
Mm.
if you're good at intuitively training, like if you've noticed that you can kind of intuitively tell what you need in terms of
Yeah.
stimulus, I'm sure this could work for you. But most people are bad at intuitive training.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if they would, we wouldn't have jobs.
Like even me, man. Like I'm still kind of will run myself into the ground thinking that I can do things a certain way
Okay.
whenever in reality, like you got to change it.
Yeah, L7. Yeah, I've seen.
Like raises.
Yeah, when I've been trying to do kind of like a historical dig of 531 articles across the past 10 years, it is so varied, you know. I don't know what his modern
Well, see,
take is.
that's the funny
I
thing
just
that you
kind of
say that too, because it's like
yeah.
now people are realizing like all this bullshit of like this doesn't really make sense, or I have to keep tweaking it in order to make progress. Like, the program, like once you kind of you set it, you're making the least smallest change or the smallest possible change and the least number of changes possible in order to continue this stress. Whereas
Mhm.
if you keep changing all these variables, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's tricky to track. It's just tricky to track. I feel like if you're a
Yeah.
very strong person who responds well to training, this is a good way to train because it's probably fun. You only need it one time a week. Who cares, you know? But for people who are they don't respond as robustly, you'd have to be very careful.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, like L7, it's like you can see kind of the viewpoints of the people who write about 531 across time because we have the internet. We can see kind of how these articles change over time. Um, I'm not sure what his modern take is, though. I don't know if he keeps like a current recommendations up list somewhere. Um, but yeah, so that's the triumvirate. The next variation, it's body weight. I think I've seen people shout this recommendation out where it's like, oh, you're a high school football player, you're wrestling, you're in the army, or if you need to do body weight exercises, like you need push-ups, you need chins, things like that. So I guess that makes sense. Like if you have to do a PT test where you're doing a bunch of push-ups, do your push-ups here you know um, but it's very similar to this 5 by 10 recommendation. It's like
Yeah.
these recommendations are super specific and they're like too specific to trust them. Does that
Yep.
make sense, Chase?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And then the triumvirate, it's kind of a little bit loosey goosey. The one I would say, if you have to go with anything, would probably be Dave Tate's. This is DT, it just didn't fit on the slide. Dave Tate's periodization Bible. It's very long, or the title is. I don't know how long the book is. But in there, presumably, it's kind of like how to periodize, or that's for a triumvirate. Which one is for a triumvirate? What do you mean? Or do you mean Dave Tate's periodization Bible is? Okay. But yeah, so in this one, there's probably triumvirate in there because he'll presumably cover things like this. But also, how to presumably periodize multiple blocks of 531 because it's a 4 week cycle. So,
Mhm.
in a 12-week block, how are you going to program all three of those? Um, yeah. So these are kind of, I would say, the most popular variations. Do any other ones come to your brain, Chase, when we talk about this?
No.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't done, like I said, I haven't done much research, but like, I just know it's the main lifts and then whatever you have to do for the accessory stuff. But again, it's just like you have to do so much plug and play to where you don't know what's going to work and what does work that it just seems like
Yeah.
you're not really training, you're just kind of exercising at this point.
Yeah, this can get very semanticsy
Yeah.
with this, because the issue is like you're taking 4 weeks to confirm progress,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, let's say if on week one for let's say week one squats, for example, I had a bad day, you know, um, uh, I got sick the night before, very stressed with homework, didn't get much sleep, anything disrupts that pattern. I can't verify my trend lines for 4 weeks, really,
Yep.
you know. Um, So let's say, for example, if you have a bad day and you only get 5 reps and you're like, oh, maybe I could have gotten 6 or 7. And then the next 4-week cycle, you get 6 reps. You're like, okay, great. That's progress. I went from 5 reps to 6 reps. But at the same time, you may have just been able to get 6 reps the whole time.
Yep.
That's the issue, is it can kind of trick you into thinking there's progress. Like you
Mm.
could be at equilibrium and just performing in kind of this like static noise confidence interval, right?
Yeah.
Because your 1 rep max always, your performance always fluctuates a little bit day to day in normal circumstances. So it's like if normally you can do 5 to 7 reps and then you go 5, 6, 7, that's fine if it takes 2.5 to 3 weeks. But if it takes 12 weeks to confirm that pattern, you don't know what you did with
Yep.
progress, and then you've already wasted a good bit of the year. I would say that's frankly my major qualm with it, but I would say the selling point of 531 is that the progression is very sustainable because you have so many points that you can say I'm getting better here, here, and here.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm kind of just playing devil's advocate here. It's just like, how would I mean, from the standpoint of like, the starting training stuff that we've learned is like, how can I really see progress if I'm just making another rep increase, or I go from 5 reps now 6 reps at a weight that I've already done before. I don't know. I don't think that's a good.
Well, the argument there is that 3 sets of 5 at 315 is incredibly close to 3 sets of 5 at 320.
Mhm.
But 3 sets of 5 to 3 sets of 6, that's 3 whole more reps.
Yeah.
So normally it makes sense if you're increasing a lot of reps, but this is only increasing reps on 1 set 1 time a week.
Yeah. And also, like, with that same scenario, it's like, okay, well, if it was easy, then for like the 315, you can always take a bigger jump and then
Yeah,
still keep
it's
the number of reps the same. So I don't
mhm.
know. That's yeah,
Yeah,
I guess.
it seems like it's like the one of the last things my brain would go to would be
Yeah,
to create this program.
exactly. Me too.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so triumvirate, I would say the second. If this, by the way, this slide right here is benefits. This is we're trying to steel man 531.
Hmm.
So let's just try to be generous to it. You can really plug and play a lot of the accessory work if you like specific things, dislike specific things. Um, he said so like L70 for example, on his deadlift day he would go deadlift, leg press, leg raises for triumvirate, and the leg
Hmm.
press would be like basically be like a squat accessory on the deadlift day because his lower back is already fried.
Yeah.
So if you're good at kind of calling those shots, then you have a lot of room to work on 531. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, like out of the ones that we've kind of covered so far, that triumphant or the triumvirate, whatever the fuck you call it, like
Triumvirate.
that seems like the one that you could probably see the most increase in strength, probably the most consistent way to program stuff because of how
Hmm.
everything is kind of laid out. But again, there's some flaws that I kind of can see in it. But out of all of them, yes, I would probably pick that instead of the body weight for sure, and then the 5x10
It's like, dude, what are
one
you
too.
doing?
Yeah, it's fucking insane.
Yeah. So next positive point, we're writing the eHarmony profile, the online dating the Tinder profile for 531. The time slots can be really fucking short. Like
Mhm.
I, almost closed the window here. Well, for this, for example, for 65 to 75%, I would maybe need to rest. I have good cardio and conditioning. I would maybe need to rest 60 seconds in between sets like this, and I could probably do
Yep.
those sets for 10 to 15 minutes.
Yep.
If Chase is doing a deadlift and it's a 75% pull and it's like, okay, this has to be 555, 570, something like that, then he's going to have to rest a little bit more. But for most normal humans, these workouts are incredibly quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's not much to them. Managing peak efforts, I would say if someone is super intensity sensitive, so like if you are a guy who's like, oh, I can deadlift really reliably when I'm at 100%, and if I'm at 90%, the deadlift feels terrible. If I'm at 85%, the deadlift feels terrible. They can I can put it all out there on the court once.
Hmm.
You'll meet those people occasionally. There are some people who can really, go to 10 out of 10 mental intensity for every set. There are other
Hmm.
people they can't do it too often. Um, so I would say those people are probably also in number 5. Um, if you respond well to low frequency, 5-3-1 is probably for you. How often do you see something like that, Chase, where someone just responds? You think they do better doing the lift less frequently?
One, if there's something prohibiting them, so like let's say an injury of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like age would be a factor, maybe. Someone who's a little bit of an older trainee um, could possibly see some benefit from that. Trying to think, really, for the vast majority of other people though, who are not fucked up, they don't have any injury or aren't particularly older or anything like that. No, they need a little bit more frequency.
Yeah, I can't think of terribly many scenarios where I'm like, yeah, you should only bench once a week.
Yeah.
I can't think of many scenarios where I would recommend that. Really, I would say it's just the deadlift. Like if someone has a very sensitive lower
Hmm.
back and then their volume tolerance for deadlifting is low, it's in the gutters. Well, I guess gutters are high. It's in the sewers. Um, if their volume tolerance sucks, then yeah, maybe deadlifting once a week is good. But you would probably want to increase that over time. You wouldn't just want to
Hmm.
keep it at one. Um, if you anything else in the steel manning of 5-3-1, Chase, anything else that you can be like, this is good about it?
Um, no, because the thing that I want to say is probably going to be the con of it.
Damn.
Yeah,
like,
I can't.
like
No.
all I can think of is
Well, it's just like
is the
I'm
con.
just I like my autism is just kind of like poking holes in it. It's just like, well,
Right.
I could tweak things differently here, or something
Right.
right there, and then at that point, it's not looking like 5-3-1.
Exactly. Yeah, it becomes a different thing. Is it still the spirit of
Exactly.
5-3-1? Yeah. So okay. So now I guess we can open the door to more negatives than we were saying before. Um, to run through them, and I'll give back to Chase. Frequency of lists is criminally low. This often means from your previous program, you're decreasing the volume. So even if you came over from Texas Method, if you came over from the NLP, you're going from 9 sets of squats a week to 3 plus maybe a
Hmm.
leg press if that counts. So generally, for most people, there's a volume decrease, and I would say the average load decreases if you're doing something like boring but big, for example. Um, what else is big for you, Chase, on negatives?
This looks like it's tailored to one person. How like really this is only tailored to almost like Jim Windler and like the guys that were training around him at that time. People who one can spend maybe a lot of time in the gym. Two, maybe someone who has dedicated a lot of time and resource into just training to where this is their sole sport. I don't really see how this could really benefit anyone into another sport. Maybe someone as like a grappler. I don't know, Alex. You probably have more opinion on that, but yeah, I really don't even see that. Like this doesn't really seem like it's a good overall strength training program. This seems like something that one is not going to beat someone who is very advanced, someone who can again still kind of push their numbers, but just not at the same stress as someone else on a different program.
Yeah, it's like the vibes I get from it are often like you're already strong as hell
Yeah.
and you can't touch things too frequently,
Yep.
you know. Um, but I think that's almost like the opposite use case because like most people are now
Exactly.
trying to use it. They're doing square peg round hole, and it's like I'm an early intermediate. This is a I did a little run in Texas Method. I did my LP. I tried 5-3-1 and I got weaker. Cool dude is cool. He said it here. He was like, when I did boring but big, I got weaker. Ended up being too much fatigue and not enough of the right stress to progress on the lifts.
Yep.
Yeah, because basically it's like you're just digging a giant hole with fatigue because you're doing your main lifts and then a 5x10, which is a tremendous amount. And then you just kind of hope that by the next workout, you are a having a good day, but are also actually stronger or a little bit bigger. So that's like you're asking a lot of stars to line up. I feel like most
Mhm.
people would end up getting weaker on things like that.
I agree.
Um, Yeah, I would say we would both say triumvirate is probably your best chance of success because it can make it look the least like 5-3-1.
Yep.
Um, yeah, what it kind of uses, what principles it's abusing, it's saying it's like, okay, we kind of have a budget, let's say a budget of physical resources. As volume is going down, we're putting more weight on the bar. So I'm hoping that as you're doing less volume, you will be able to put more weight on. And then you're like, sick, I put more weight on that one time.
Hmm.
And then you redo the process. That almost just describes a peak
Yep.
rather than
Exactly.
training. It's like one of the first things that Chase said in the stream was like it's like I don't know how much I would say this is training. Like you're
Yeah.
not hitting things squarely in a training block, you know. Um, yeah, because there's something about um, I'm interested if you think about this the same way, Chase, but like there's something different about hitting a PR in the course of the middle of training, the stars aren't aligned, it's a normal circumstance, and you put more weight on the bar as
Hmm.
opposed to framing your training around putting the weight on the bar for a specific instance. Um, yeah.
Yeah, like there's a lot more probably I would say mental aspect to it. Like if like the guys that I have in the gym, like they will just slowly creep up a number, and then like maybe 3 or 2 weeks before they come to me, or they come into the session like, oh man, I'm pretty close to 4 or 5, or I'm close to squatting this, and go, yep, it'll be there another 2 weeks. So now they know like
Yeah.
their sole focus is not at 315. It's still
Yeah.
300. It's still 305, 310, and then they're gonna get it. Whereas like if you're trying to program and train around a specific number that you're gonna try to hopefully hit in 4 weeks, all your weeks leading up to that is going to be wrapped around that, and that could affect stress in the mental state and how you're going to basically adhere to like if you're going to get that or not. Like some people are going to freak out and shit like that if they're the type A personality. So it's I think there's a lot of other stress variables I think leading into that if you think like that versus just letting it happen in its own course.
That can be. I didn't even think about it like that. And
Yeah,
that's
you
yeah.
didn't.
So we talk about this in two totally separate ways, and they come to the same conclusion, and you're like, excellent.
Hmm.
um, Yeah, because it's like that would be rough because you'll see it with people who are kind of ending the LP. They're like, "Oh man, I have to do a 5 pound squat PR tomorrow. It's going to be crazy. I'm a little bit nervous about it now." Now
Yeah,
imagine it's like, listen, you got one shot to improve your performance. It's coming in 3 weeks. Get it together.
yeah, I can
Um,
do that too.
yeah, it's like that's rough. That's one thing I try to express to everybody. It's like, first time you pull 405, it's not going to be any different than 400, and it's not going to be
Yep,
any different than 410. you know um yeah, there's a big psychological uh
component to this.
I would say game that people play, particularly with plates. Like I've noticed, like my guys in Europe, I work with a few people in Europe, they're like super stoked when it's like the deadlift is at 197, you know and they're like 200 soon, and I'm like, I don't even know how many pounds that is. Like who
Yeah,
gives a shit? you know so depending on what plates you have, all these things, everyone gets excited about different PRs.
yeah.
um yeah, you want to do these form checks, Chase? Do you have some form checks left in you?
Let's do it.
Okay, all right, while I'm getting these, do you have any parting shots for the people on 5 3s and 1s?
So like the topics that we kind of brought up is that, and to kind of judge this. So what is the difference between training and exercising? Well, training is the physiological accumulation of an adaptation. So I want to get stronger. I want to go ride my bike. Whatever it is to now end up at a specific goal. Well, does 5-3-1 kind of suit that? In a way, a little bit, but I think it beats around the bush a lot, and it kind of looks more so like exercising. So kind of keep that in mind. And then, who is this for? Like, who's the guy that wrote this? Can you explain this really well? And how many times has this been applied to different types of people? For example, like the novice linear program has been applied to thousands and thousands of different people, and it's been tweaked and modified.
Hmm.
At its time, and now we have the finished product. But versus like the 5-3-1 thing, it's like the thing I don't think has ever changed. Like it has maybe four integrations that we just went over,
Those are
versus
the
like
big ones. I think it has
yeah,
like there's a book 531 Forever about how to do it. as your permanent, functional and permanent
Yeah,
training.
that just
There's like such a crazy amount of variations out there
that
on
doesn't make
531.
sense. Yeah, and programs don't last forever, so
Yeah.
you're basically just buying a template at that point.
It's basically, it's like, how would one use this template, in
Yep.
perpetuity? And that's a giant question.
Hmm.
So parting shots on 531. K-Max here is doing a set of infinite reps with 190. It seems like he's on
Hmm.
rep 30 by now. So
He's
parting
doing
shots
his
with five. Go
he's
ahead,
doing
Chase.
his bigger but boring. He's doing his
Yeah,
5x10.
yeah. This is the big but boring volume here,
Yeah.
everybody. Yeah, you know what? I suppose if you're doing a 5x10 with 190, you got some room. I got the
Yeah.
Reddit link for my form check. Yeah, if you can post that in the chat and I can see the link, you go for it, dude. Post it up. I don't know if YouTube will let you, but yeah, parting shots are 531. I would say it is a good snapshot in time about what programming used to look like. It is a very clean loop. Yeah, this guy K-Max edited his videos very well. Most people do not. He did a very good job. Yeah, it's a good snapshot in time about what programming was, during that window of like, you know, late 2000s, early 2010s.
Hmm.
Oftentimes programming was very similar to this. And people were still getting very strong then, but like I think some of the reasons why we've seen such astronomical increases in people's strength is that more people are doing it for sure, but also the programming knowledge and the general programming philosophies have changed a lot.
Hmm.
Um, like modern fatigue management, not relying on percentages for everything, kind of very huge. Um, yeah, I think it's certainly a good study. If you consider yourself a programming nerd, you should definitely know about it. But I would not recommend it to my mother or to my friends.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Have you seen K-Max press enough reps, Chase?
Yes.
How would you help this poor boy?
So if you look at it, like his knees clearly are bending. It looks like he's almost doing a push press. What I want him to do is one, lock out his knees by flexing his quads, and then two, think of the bounce or rather the bend happening a little bit higher. So he's thinking, I'm throwing my hips forward, but in reality, his knees are bending. So he may need to think higher up with the hips. So the belt going forward, the stomach going forward, something of that nature to where he's not getting the focus around his knees.
Mm-hmm.
But like the timing's there, the back is good, the elbow position is nice. It's just bending the knees.
Yeah, he's almost sagging down to find his bounce, where it's like,
Yeah.
I think, you want to get him forward, just
Hmm.
forward. Yeah, just forward. I would say I want more of a shrug at the top. Like he's keeping his shoulder kind of packed in at
Oh
lockout.
yeah.
I would like to see more of a little push there, but I think that may be because he doesn't want to hit the rack. I think that could be it because he has those
Yeah.
pegs
Could be.
there. Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. Maybe just press outside the rack if you can. Um, but I would like to see a better lockout. Otherwise, these are good. Like these are for a 190 press. This is a fast bar speed. When
Oh
most
yeah.
people get to 190, they're fucking grinding it out. So this is good bar speed for that. All right, Chase, we got Sebastian. I don't know if you remember.
Has he been? Yeah, he's been on, right?
Yeah, so he was the
Yeah.
guy
That's
who
right.
like sent us like an empty bar. I think it was first session or two, I believe. Oh, look at these plates, Chase. They say escape your limits.
That's awesome. I want those
And they're
plates.
50 pounds. That's amazing. They're not even 45 pounds.
I think you have dyslexia or something because that's 0.5 instead of
No way.
yeah, it's 5 pound plates.
Are you kidding me?
That's 0.5. It's not 50 because the 5 would be the other way.
I feel lied to.
No, I mean, because like you got like if you freeze it down there, like the red
No,
and the
you're 100% correct. I was like, oh, weird. There's 50s. I was like, why would anyone put giant 5-pound plates on a bar? That didn't even come into my head.
well,
That was a
this guy
possibility.
did.
All right, Sebastian. He is squatting 55 pounds. How would you help your boy here, Chase?
I'm trying to think like what his last squat looked like because I mean
I think he may just look like someone else. Now that I saw his face, like because we tend to have pretty good memories for people's faces,
mhm.
Jace. Let's see
But
if we can. I don't recognize this guy.
I don't either.
Mm-hmm. So first time seeing Sebastian, how would you help Sebastian out?
One, turn your toes out a little bit more. I like the width in between your feet, but I want to see a little bit more toe angle. Yep. So like
Out
more of
here.
like a V. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then two, look at the depth. So he is stopping like 2 inches high than where he needs to be. Sebastian's gonna have to think about keeping his ass below his knees at the bottom. And also due to
Yeah. So
that,
this is he gets.
yeah. And then due to like where his toe angle is, he's probably just bunching up to where he feels his thigh and his stomach pinch a little bit prematurely. It's going to help free up a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more room to where he can reach down a little bit lower and get into the proper position at the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, just like get your legs out of the way, sit between your legs.
Hmm.
He did look down on this one. On a lot of the reps, he was like nose up at the mirror.
Mm.
On this last one, he got a little bit deeper than he normally did, and he started looking down. Um, excuse me. So on this shadow, where should he be looking? Like here? Like here? Where do you like people to look, Chase?
Like I would tell him, like, imagine if that shadow had eyes. You're probably just eye locking your shadow. That's like maybe 4 feet, maybe three
Okay.
feet out in front of
Yeah.
him.
So he may
Um,
even still be a little bit high on his gaze then.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because earlier, let's try to find one earlier here.
But like I'm not too concerned about his eye gaze because like his back angle is pretty good. It's just
Okay.
his depth. And like he's driving his hips up pretty well. It stopped for me. Hold on. I could just bullshit it there.
Yeah. Can you see it now? Is it moving for you now, Chase?
This is choppy on my end, but
Oh, it's just choppy. Okay, all right.
mhm,
I'm seeing it in full frames. It's definitely it's chesty. There's a little bit of hip drag coming out of the bottom.
mhm.
But the big thing is the changes. I would say prioritize. Move the feet out, increase the toe angle, sit between your legs, nose down. And these will be a lot better. Also, like I don't know if squatting 55 pounds is a good idea. You should probably you can experiment with weights much heavier than this, Sebastian, right? So
Oh
you do
yes.
not need to go 60, 65, 70. You can go to 95 next time, then 115 the next time, then 135. And then once you're kind of in that area, you can start taking smaller jumps. But don't do a 5 pound or even a 10 pound LP from 55 up. Go a little bit faster. Um, all right, this next one, that was Sebastian. This is Swizzly.
Swizzly. Have we heard of
Yeah,
this
man,
guy
it's just
before?
Swizzly. No, but Swizzly's he sent us an interesting video, Chase.
Is this a hip squat or a belt squat?
This is a belt squat, but interestingly, we were doing harnesses, the chest penis harnesses earlier today. Have you used one of these before, Chase?
No.
They're very fun, frankly. Like this may be a
Okay,
spoiler alert for people.
what's the spoiler
It's
alert?
like it it feels like a fun circus toy. Like the hammer thing at the carnival.
Yeah.
This feels like something that should be there.
Mm,
Yeah.
gotcha.
It's very fun. I have an excellent time on a belt squat when I find one. I just fuck around on them. Um,
Because I'm
so
assuming you could probably do more weight than what you're
no,
capable
actually,
of.
like it just feels
Really?
so weird because it's like you don't feel like you're holding anything. It just feels like
Yeah.
your life force is being sucked out through this kind of belly button carabiner.
Hmm.
Um, if you put it on, so he has it high. He has his like wrapped around like right above his xiphoid process. If
Yeah.
you hook it to a belt, it feels very similar to a normal squat on a belt. If you hook it on your chest, it's like it's super weird. Um,
Hmm.
so it seems like Swizzly is trying to learn the SS form here. I would say like the clue is like he's doing this thing. It's trying to push his elbows in.
Yeah. Just with
Um,
a weight pulling him down.
why do you think? I don't know. I don't know if he emailed us with this. Why would you assume Swizzly is belt squatting, Chase? If you have to guess, make your fan fiction for Swizzly.
I'm gonna say like he tried putting a bar on his back and it does not feel comfortable.
Okay, so he went to harness immediately.
Yes.
Okay, maybe he already had the harness on and was like, "Fuck it." He just came home
But
from
he just always
harness
wears
school.
a harness and he's just like, fuck it.
Yeah. Whenever my dog goes outside, he always wears a harness. See?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
don't judge Swizzly.
I won't. Nope.
Um,
Not one bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you think someone can learn the starting strength kind of like hip drive squatting methodology through
Um,
a
I
belt
don't
squat?
know,
Because he's
because
trying
like
to hip
what
drive.
well, like what you were saying is like now you're affecting the way that you're driving your hips because of where you're being attached to the carabiner at. So like for example, it's a little bit more higher up on him to where um like the what I'm kind of thinking of whenever we teach the bottom position, one of our steps here is like driving up against our hands to actually promote adequate hip drive. So
Hmm.
this would be like if I were to put my hands on like his mid back and then tell him to drive up. Is he really driving his hips or if he's is he just driving his mid back? So
Yeah.
that distinguishment there is kind of hard. But if maybe he actually had it lower on him and he's physically staying over the bar, or I shouldn't say bar longer, but staying bent over a little bit longer with his back, and he's not doing like how he did there on that freezed frame of like that good morning on the way up. Maybe that could teach him the bottom position and actually how to drive his hips effectively.
Yeah, the bottom position high. I mean, like we can see it here. I'll try to pause this here. So every belt machine, I think I've probably fucked around with 6 of these machines in my life,
Hmm.
at various gyms to travel to, for camps and things like that. Every single one of them has had me squat above depth. They're just squatting above depth machines, because all of them will
Why
have
is
these
that? Because
various.
will that relax like the
No, it's because
tension and the?
I'm only 5'2". the
Gotcha.
the pulley's not long enough, or the pulley's too long. Excuse me. But even no, so it's like for normal height people, I'm 5'10", totally normal height. This guy, he may be the same exact height. Every single one of these belt machines will come with like 6 random carabiners or something to add on, because getting to the
Mm,
complete bottom position is very uncomfortable and feels awkward on a belt squat. So like
mm,
I'll typically have to stack plates under my feet to boost myself up, so I can get to a full depth,
hmm.
because he only gets to like he's even squatting like right there. That's his deepest squat.
Yeah,
How,
not
is,
even
is he
parallel.
at depth, above depth?
Oh, he's above.
Yeah, how many inches above there?
Who like 3,
Yeah, I would
maybe
say
even
about
4.
three is very fair. So like right here, for example, the pulley has no tension on it.
Hmm.
This is kind of like as low as it gets. Um, so like it's not good for depth. It's not really good for much. I would say like if you have one arm, if your shoulders are beyond fucked up, maybe go for the belt squat. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't try to learn this as your working squats, Wisley.
No, I wouldn't either.
The Swizzler. And then the last one for today is from Gavin.
It's a cool little setup.
It is. He has a sissy squat. He has 2 sissy squat stands, and then
Just a
8
weird,
barbells.
yeah. And then like a weird like lamp that you kill flies with in the corner.
Yeah, he has a UV black light and a tanning loop or a tanning bed. It looks like a tanning
Yeah,
bed light. That's what it looks like. Yeah.
yeah,
Incredibly tall window. I don't know places that
yeah.
have
It's weird,
windows this
man.
tall.
Like I thought it had bars on it too, or it's just the blinds are kind of
I
weird too.
Yeah, these are either very serious industrial blinds or some sort of like window protection.
It's very. It looks like almost like he's in a mental institute, and they actually have like this is their fitness corner.
These are their calming lights so that
Yeah, this
everybody
is their fitness corner.
stays calm. The fitness corner. Um, all right, so Gavin, we have Gavin squatting here. Any advice for Gavin, Chase?
Gavin, you need to find your balance. You need to stay over the midfoot, and then 2, you got to go deeper. So like one of the reps, like you can tell, like he's way forward, like right there, um,
Hmm.
and he's high. So he's gonna have to now shove out his knees a little bit more, keep reaching down while staying balanced in the midfoot.
All right, I think this may be the deepest rep. How much more do you want him to go down from this rep?
Oh, at least another 2 to 3 inches.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not dissimilar to the Swizzler from
Hmm.
last time. These look like these. I don't think these are lifters. I think these are just flat shoes. I think lifters would probably be a big help for you, Gavin, just to give yourself some heel. So put in that request through the commissary.
I don't know if they'll allow you to have that if that's a danger to
The
you.
heels are too hard. You would start doing
Yeah,
karate to the fellow patients, and then you'd have an
start
advantage
helping
with
the
your hard
yeah,
shoes.
start fucking hitting the nerve staff in the temple with the
Yeah.
heels.
Yeah. Yeah. I think lifting shoes would help. The stance seems fine. The toe angle maybe a tad shallow, maybe more toe angle. But the
Mhm.
big thing is, it's leaning over to sit down, getting your butt below your
Mhm.
knees, butt below the knees. I always wonder about. We have a starting strength coach in Korea. He's Korean. He works with the native Korean population.
We have
Um,
several. We have so it's Inyuk. We have
how many are
Mr.
two,
Kim.
three?
I think it's Mr. Kim.
Yeah,
That's how I don't know his actual name, but Kim.
and then
I thought it's just those two.
okay, yeah. So we got two guys over there. It would probably be very interesting to be in a place where the squat is the easiest movement to teach.
Oh yeah, or the power
Everyone
clean
has a
too.
everyone has a perfect squat immediately.
Yeah, fuck them.
And if you teach the pull, they immediately have a full ass to grass clean in the front rack, and you're like,
Yes.
okay, perfect.
Yep.
um, yeah, that would be nice. It'd be nice to live there. But yeah, hopefully that advice will help Gavin. Let's go back to this. Anything on your social media recently, Chase, that we need to look at?
Nothing really.
Have you posted anything? When's the last time you posted something?
Yeah. Posted like a few days ago.
Oh man. When I type in your name, for some reason my suggestions it said wheel of Parmesan cheese purchase. I don't know why.
That's
Oh, you
strange,
posted
man.
something a day ago. Here we go. Chase.
Is there like a Chase brand Parmesan cheese wheel?
I don't know. I don't know. All right, Daniel Bugueva said, I would call you a monster, but I feel like that would detract from your accomplishments as a human. Do you feel like a monster, Chase?
Not really. I just
Okay,
feel
well,
like
that's good.
me.
You just feel like classico Chase. So what's going on here? What are you doing?
So this was actually supposed to be a 5x1 pause snatch, a 3x2 just cleans, and then was going to do a 3x2 jerks out of the rack and then rack pull. But I didn't have enough time, so I just kind of did 3 singles on the snatch, worked up to a top one. So I pause snatched 130. It's pretty excited about that. I put
Nice.
125 in there.
Ooh, look at that, Chase.
Yeah, it felt pretty good. Things are kind of clicking. Yeah, and I just fuck up that one.
Okay.
So then I combined the clean and jerks together. So I did 2 cleans and then 1 jerk to end it. I was gonna do 2 jerks, but I was like, nah, that shit's gonna break me. Because I did one set. And I was like, yep, this is gonna be a tough
You're
one.
like, okay, calling it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
So
good
I
play
only
there, good
got
catch.
actually only finished with 2 sets of 2 cleans. I only cleaned it once on my last one and just kind of missed it. And then rack pulled, of course.
How'd the racks feel?
Pretty easy, man.
Easy 655. Easy peasy. And when was this? This was fun. Oh, this was 2 days ago. Training on a Thursday plus what the dog doing.
Mhm.
Chase, do you do harnesses or collars for your dogs?
Just collars. Like I have harnesses, but Garm, my white one, does not fucking like it.
Okay.
And then Jade, we had one whenever she was a puppy. She just kept growing, so it's like collars are way less
You're like, what are we gonna do?
expensive. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I'm like, I'll wait until she's done growing.
Okay, gotcha. That's what I'm gonna do with my kids with clothes. They'll be like 15. I'll be like, listen, you're growing too much.
Yep.
Yeah,
Just
I'm
give them a
like,
fucking burlap sack.
you got to
And be like, all right.
do fat people moo-moos or just be naked.
Yep.
What's the weight on the bar here, Chase?
That is 120 for some hangs.
That's 120 for some hangs. How'd these feel?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Pretty good. Okay. More
And
hangs. Ooh, we got a little bench. Your dog sniffing your crotch. Your dog is huge now, Chase.
Yeah, dude, she's tall as fuck.
Holy shit.
But yeah, she will sniff your crotch. I don't know why she started doing this, but
Imagine the smell, truly.
yeah, she just kind of sits there, and that's about it.
Is he always like that? Is he always just kind of like whatever?
Yeah.
Very unimpressed.
Yeah,
okay.
He just lays there. And like what's so funny is like if I were to fail a bench and I had to like careen it off like one side, he just is like, fuck it, I don't care, you're not gonna miss. So
it's totally fine.
Yeah, good motivation.
You have really good elbow flaring on the bench, Chase. It is exactly the correct amount. Ooh, beautiful bench.
It's
beautiful
rough.
bench. What are we looking at here?
I don't know. That was a long time ago. That was
2
kind of a
weeks ago.
complex. That was 120 for a snatch plus an overhead squat.
Oh, there's some power cleans at RPE shit. Let's see the
Yeah.
RPE shit. Ooh, what a swing on that one. Let's rewatch that,
Yeah,
folks.
that was a hard one. I don't know. I'm gonna leave it up to the.
Sick. How do you like push pressing? Is push pressing fun for you?
It's not bad, man. I like it. I think it kind of helps with the jerk. Just kind of getting like the tempo and the motion down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I like it. It's kind of fun.
I think I maybe just should make a time lapse of it. I hurt my neck recently, so I haven't done any heavy weight on squats at all because it's just killing my neck. So
Yeah.
I've been doing density sets of 12 to 14 with 225, as many as I can in 15 minutes. The last workout was 6 by 12 in, I think I finished in a little bit under 14 minutes.
Jesus.
The pump and then the lung sucking, unreal,
I
Chase.
bet. I bet.
Unreal. It just looks
Jesus.
fucking embarrassing. Looks absolutely embarrassing. They're like, why is that guy so wet?
Yeah.
It feels nice though, because like normally a fucking long squat and deadlift workout takes an hour and a half. You
Mhm.
know, just getting done in, I would say with warm up under 20 minutes, it's pretty nice.
Yeah. That's what I like doing about the EMOMs, man. Like I've been doing a few EMOMs and like it sucks like the first few, and then like afterwards you're like, yes, I get in this nice groove, and it's only
Mm-hmm.
only took 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's nice. Those sorts of ways to just compress time. Like if you're ever injured and you just work really, really fast on light work, it's very fun. It's
Mhm.
very fun. What are we seeing here? How are your weighted chins going? How often are you doing chins?
I'm doing weighted 1 week, and then the other week, not weighted, so just body weight
Any
stuff.
negatives in there or just as many as you can?
Just as many as I can.
Okay, cool. Cool. Man, we're already over by like 10 minutes. Any parting shots for the people, Chase, while we're looking at your muscular erectors?
Nope.